this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this.
Hey guys, I'm Stanley, and I'm trying to relearn piano as an adult. To give you guys some context, I started playing piano around 7 years old, and I played until my senior year of high school, so till around 17. I kind of hated it the whole time. It wasn't something that I chose to do. My parents put me into lessons when I was a kid, and like anything that you're forced to do, you just are resistant, don't want to do it, you don't enjoy it, and I couldn't wait to quit. When I did, I stopped playing for 12 years. It wasn't until I went on vacation one year to Switzerland, and I was staying with a friend who had a piano, and I was just curious. I wanted to know if I could read music, if I could play, or what it would feel like, what my muscles would feel like. So I just gave it a shot, and to my surprise, I could still read music and I could still play, but my muscles just felt weak and I couldn't obviously do a lot of the things that I could before, but I could play simple stuff. I'm still kind of blown away now thinking how amazing the human body is and the human mind is to be able to retain the things that we've learned in our childhood for so long. So after my trip, I decided to pick up piano again. I came back and I got this electric piano, and I've been practicing on it pretty much every day for the last 2 years. In today's video, I wanted to talk about how I taught myself Chopin's Etude, Opus 25, number 1, and the things that I learned from studying this piece. Practicing and learning this piece, I felt like improved my technique significantly, and I just learned so many things about the process of learning music that I wasn't really doing or applying before. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not a professional musician. I've never studied music professionally. I'm teaching all of this myself and using pure instinct and intuition and what I could remember from my childhood. All of these things are purely just based on my own experiences and my own reflections. So number 1 is practicing multiple tempos to reach the desired tempo. One of the reasons that I chose to study this piece is because it's played fairly fast, and that's always been one of my challenges when I was young and also as an adult. And I wanted to tackle this problem and see how I can improve and see what I could learn. When I was young, I would usually approach playing a piece fast by using a metronome and starting it at what I could play and then slowly increase the BPM. This worked to a certain extent, but the problems I found with it were I always reached a plateau and I didn't know how to break past that plateau, and I would have so much tension. Even if I could play at that BPM, I would play it with so much tension and it just never felt very comfortable or very relaxed, which is probably why I avoided fast songs if I could. What I've learned now with this piece is it takes practicing at different tempos to get to that speed, because you learn different things at different tempos. At a slow tempo, you learn how to relax your muscles and how to be accurate. At a medium tempo, I was able to practice interpretation, dynamics, and phrasing the best. And then practicing at a fast tempo, of course, you're practicing how to play it fast. But it's the combination of all of those that got me to be able to play at performance tempo, but feeling very comfortable. The main challenges I find with playing something fast are muscle relaxation and accuracy. Those are two things that are very, very difficult to practice if you're only playing the song fast. For me, those two things are best practiced when you're slow, and you can be very deliberate and focus on relaxing your muscles, feeling relaxation in your body and in your mind. And placing your hands, your fingers, your elbows in the right places to play the piece accurately. Once you master those skills, you take them with you once you start increasing the tempo. Even after I was able to play the piece at a performance tempo, I never stopped practicing it at slow and medium tempos. I would usually always start practicing that piece by playing it all the way through at a slow tempo, just to remind myself what it feels like to be relaxed, and remind myself the positions of my arms and my hands, and then just slowly start increasing it to fast tempo. So number 2 is playing in different rhythms. I found 2 really helpful rhythms to practice in. The first one is playing as if every 6th note is dotted. Playing in this rhythm allows me to pause between each main beat and practice relaxing my muscles. I make sure everything feels nice and relaxed before moving on to the next group. This exercise probably helped me the most with bringing the piece up to speed, because it allowed me to get used to the physical sensation of playing the notes fast, but it didn't feel like I'm playing all of the notes at once. The dotted rhythm makes it feel more like you're playing little sections fast, which is much easier to do. The second rhythm is playing as if every main beat has a dot. This rhythm helped me practice the transition between each sextuplet, which I found really effective for practicing the large jumps that occur later in the piece, which is probably the most challenging passage for me. But I just started slowly and get my body used to the distance of those jumps, and then it just slowly got more and more comfortable, and then I could play it a little bit faster and a little bit faster until eventually I'm able to play those jumps fast. Number 3 is getting to memorization as fast as possible. Memorizing has never been something that was easy to me, but what I realized was practicing from memory is so much easier with a fast song than practicing with the sheet music. And the reason for this is because you're just trying to, there's so many things to think about in a fast piece. There's a lot of notes, there's a lot of movement changes, and with the music there, it's one more thing that then you have to split your attention from. Your brain has to also then concentrate and read these notes. And I found it so much easier if I practiced in small sections without looking at the music, and it just allowed me to free my brain and concentrate on other things and not worry about the notes so much. I also found that the faster that I got to memorizing, the more pleasurable the practice experience was, because I could play with so much more freedom. I was able to listen more closely, work on interpretation more easily, phrasing. The faster I could get to memorizing a piece for practicing, the better. Number 4 is being specific with where I'm placing my attention. If I'm practicing and I'm just playing through kind of aimlessly without being mindful about where I'm focusing, I notice that it takes me much longer to learn a piece than if I were to practice being very specific with where I focus my attention. Some of the things I would focus on are placing my attention fully on feeling my muscles relaxed, or the position of my elbows, or feeling the weight of my arms and the coordination between my right hand and my left hand. The key thing is to just choose one thing at a time. When I practice in this way, it's as if I'm super focusing my attention on just learning one thing at a time. In doing that, whatever it is I'm focusing on, I learn it much faster and easier. This makes sense to me because I'm not dividing my attention. It's kind of like if you were juggling and you have two balls and it's fairly easy, but the minute you add a third ball or a fourth ball, there's more things to concentrate on and it just becomes significantly more difficult. It's very likely that our mind will drift as we're playing, especially if you make mistakes, your mind's gonna drift. But it's kind of like a meditation in the sense that if your mind drifts, it's okay, you just notice it and bring your attention back to whatever it is that you're focusing on. If I find that it's difficult for my mind to stay focused on one thing at a time, I'll just break it down and practice it in smaller sections. And then slowly it gets easier and easier, and eventually I'll be able to play the whole piece through from beginning to end with just focusing on one thing at a time. Besides the physical aspects, I also practiced focusing my attention on listening only, trying my best to kind of forget the body and really concentrate on listening alone. This is probably the most important I found because the end goal of what I want from learning this piece is to be able to play it in this way with complete freedom, not thinking about my body, and just listening and letting the music flow. This is the best way that I found in practicing this and recreating that feeling. So the last thing that I learned is that impatience is the enemy. Especially with songs that are fast and you're trying to bring them up to speed, it's just something that takes time. It's so hard when you're learning a fast piece not to want to hear it at its fast tempo or at the right tempo that you listen to in recordings and videos. But if I rush and practice a piece too fast before I'm ready for it, most likely I'm just going to end up practicing a bunch of mistakes and bad habits that I'm not even realize that I'm doing. And the minute that I feel myself get tense in any way, I know that I'm not ready for that speed yet. And I'll go back and I'll spend a few days practicing at slower tempos, practicing concentrating on specific problem areas, and then a few days later I'll try again with the speed and see what's the fastest that I can play comfortably. Slowly over time, that just gets a little bit faster and a little bit faster. Getting a piece up to tempo takes time. That's just the reality of it. It's going to be different for every person, it's going to be different for every piece, but the key thing is to be patient with yourself and be kind to yourself while you're practicing and learning it. That's it for this video. I hope that you found it interesting or helpful in some kind of way. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I have no idea if I'm just being Captain Obvious with these observations, but they're just things that I personally never really thought about or knew about before. I'll see you guys next time.